let's start this by asking that how are you doing and how is your band doing at the moment?
I mean, yeah, it's okay. It could be better. Just with all the everything that's going on a little bit with this release, it's been a bit of a struggle, but it's our fans are really enjoying what we're putting out there so far, and we're just happy to have it out there, because we worked so hard on it. And it's been a while. We started, writing the record back in 2021, so it's nice to finally have everything out there and get everything going again. So we're excited.
So Phantoma is your like sixth album and it's gonna be out on May 10th through
Yes.
Napalm. As you said, you started like a couple of years ago already. So why did it took so long?
Well, I had a baby in the middle,
Okay,
and
that's
that kind
very
of puts.
understandable that then it takes some
Yeah.
time. I
Yeah.
actually have a 6-year-old kid at my home. So
Oh, oh, awesome! Congrats. Yeah, no, it was great. We, getting up there in age, so we knew that we had to do it now or never. So we started writing it because the pandemic was still happening and we couldn't tour, and we had released Abyss in 2020, and we were unable to do anything about it really. So we were just like, well, let's start writing the next record. So we did that. It, started like spring of 2021. And then, so we got the storyline all, sorted out, and we started writing some riffs and sending things back and forth. And then tour started picking up again in the fall, near the end of the year. So then we focused on that for, yeah, for a little while. And then, yeah, 2022, we continued writing, but I was pregnant at the time, so I was kind of tired and just trying to get life sorted out for that big change. So, and then it was near the end of 2022 when we were kind of like, okay, like let's focus on this again. Let's get this done. And, finished all the writing and hit the studio in spring of 2023. So it was, yeah, quite a process.
so what kind of process was it like after doing a sort of like a double album? Was it like easier, same or
Yeah, it was pretty much the same. Um, I knew I wanted to do a different story because Apex and Abyss were about the same, we call it the Immortal Saga. They were a continuation of one another. So I wanted to try something new, and I came up with a couple ideas and sent them to the boys and was like, what do you think about these as stories for the next album? And they really liked the, android gaining sentience idea. So, and we felt that it lent itself best to being a full LP and being able to stretch it out into 10 songs. So we picked that one. And then what I always do is I write the story out in like a track by track overview. So I just kind of say, track one, chapter one, this is what's going on in the story. This is how I want the listener to feel. This is what I want the song to sound like. And here's a song or two as inspiration, kind of what I was thinking in my head or hearing in my head. And so I do that for each song, 1 through 10. And then I send that to the boys and they start writing their riffs. And Andrew, is a really big fan of science fiction and fantasy and everything, just like me. And so he kind of had ideas right away and he just started firing off songs like immediately. And Grant and Nick as well, they were writing some songs. And so then we just kind of took that and put it all together and decided, which riff goes best with which song and just built like a guitar foundation sort of. And then from there we flesh everything out together. We make sure that the songs flow well and that they all have the same feeling and tone and that they tell the story emotionally with the music just as much as the lyrics would. And then we all write our parts and hit the studio. So it's always the same. We started doing that with Apex because I wanted it to be a concept record that tells. I knew that Apex and Abyss started the story at the same time and that they were going to be connected, and so we kind of tried this method out for the first time on Apex and it worked really well. It
okay.
kept us all moving in the same direction and working towards the same goal and writing with the same ideas in mind. And so yeah, we really liked how it worked, so we just kind of have been doing it like that ever since.
But that's interesting way to do it because not many bands do it that way.
Yeah, I don't know if it was um if it's something that other bands do because I am not the guitar player, so I can't, write the riffs that I'm hearing in my head. I
Yeah.
wish I could, maybe one day. But this is the only way that I can figure out how to communicate what, the overall tone of the record should be in accordance with the story. So that's kind of just, it was like, let's see if this works, and if this makes the whole record sound a little bit more like it's all on the same page. Because I feel like our albums before that were kind of scattered a bit, and they didn't have that same flow that the last, well, this now third album being done that way. I feel like they're just different, and they sound different, and they feel different. So yeah, it was really just kind of an experiment. I was inspired by actually Bjorn from Soilwork, because when he did The Living Infinite, that was, well, from what I remember reading in an interview, he had the story idea, and then he wrote a lot of the guitar riffs that were like, each song was based, on a riff that he had come up with that, was telling the story, and the rest of the band just kind of built around that. And I thought that was really great. And I was like, but I can't play guitar, so how do I make that happen? Because I loved that record and the way that it felt, and how you can listen to it beginning to end in two discs, CDs back in the day, and never feel like, you never get pulled out of it. There's never a moment where it's like, oh, what's this song, or what's this doing here, or anything like that. And it felt like one big long song. And so I really wanted to have that kind of for us. And so that was the only way that I could see it maybe working for us.
So how complete are the lyrics, like when you start like compiling the music for it? Do they change, or is it like just like rough ideas what you have in your head, or is it almost like complete lyrics and then they start like building the music for it?
Yeah, it's like zero lyrics. It's only ideas.
Okay.
And so like the story part that I talk about in the track by track that I make for the boys is always very,
Rough ideas.
yeah, it's kind of, it's pretty liberal. So, like, okay, here's chapter one. We get introduced to this, post-apocalyptic-esque world where humanity has destroyed the planet through climate change, and humans now live in these big, beautiful biomes, and everything else is dust, basically. And so that's it right there. That's all I have. That's, to go off of when it comes time to write the lyrics. I use that as a guideline the whole time that I'm writing, just to make sure that I don't repeat anything too much, because sometimes, like, one track will have a little bit of the same, lyrical content. It's trying to get it across the same part of the story a little bit-ish. So I just kind of always am like, okay, no, this song, I really need to tell this part of the story. Make sure that you focus on that. Don't go back into other parts that have already been touched on or will be touched on, in subsequent songs. So yeah, it's really just kind of an idea. But it's nice because I know exactly what I have to write about. And so it's not me sitting there being like, okay, so what's this song about? Like, well, how does it make me feel? I already know exactly what I need to say. It's just a matter of saying it. So it makes that part easier. But then, of course, there's always still just, what word do I use here that is 6 syllables and ends in an ah vowel? Like, there's always those kind of struggles.
I can imagine that building up that kind of like concept album is always more struggle than just like doing song after song after song after song. So you don't have to think about like too much about those connections and such.
Right, exactly. But I just, I think that's telling individual stories with songs is great. We did that on Time Stands Still, but it was all kind of in one theme for that record of being, like being a band in Canada. That's what that whole album is about. But I could write about other different things. And so it was nice just kind of being like, I don't have to tell anyone's story, and I don't have to loop it in with anything else if I don't want to or anything. So, but then I already know what I'm going to sing about with these concept records. So it kind of, it's like, curse and a blessing.
So do you discuss like about the music itself before you even start making the album? Like, this is a little bit like darker and heavier album than compared to like Abusis. So do you do those kinds of discussions, or do they just turn out the way they do? Or
Yeah, no, there was definitely a note at the bottom of the overview in this for this album, and it was I really want this to be a dark modern metal record, and I want it to be think of like and this is kind of what I said to the boys was like, don't think of your past influences. Think of bands that you've discovered recently now that are doing something new and cool, and try and look there for influence. And let's see if we can push that even a little bit and try something new. I don't want to go back too hard into, the Iron Maiden influences that we've always, taken from. But of course they are there. Absolutely. We can't
Yeah,
escape them. They are embedded in us forever. That heavy metal, traditional metal, Judas Priest, Queensryche, Iron Maiden,
that's the DNA
Sonata
part.
Arctica, like, yeah, exactly. But we just wanted to, yeah, kind of change a little bit, warp it,
Yeah,
manipulate
yeah.
it a little bit, mutate it, I guess you could say, to become something that we haven't done before, but still remain true to our roots. So that was kind of my little note after everything. It was like, this record is pretty dark. I was like, I got a pretty dark view of humanity right now. I want this to reflect that. So, and I think the boys absolutely nailed it with all the riffs that they came up with for sure. Green and Glass is like a little bit different.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, I know exactly where that's going in the album as soon as Andrew sent me that riff, because I was like, this is the moment where Phantoma is seeing humanity in person for the first time and seeing these biomes that she's watched from afar for so long. And this is like the ultimate, the apex of her hope and her, you know, outlook on the future, just like this amazing brightness. I was like, so this song is allowed to be happy, but nothing else.
But do you always start like from the first song and end on the last song, or can you start like even from the middle and then do the first part and then the ending part, and or is there like some certain way that you put up the like pieces to the puzzle?
Well, it's kind of it's all happening all at once. So I'm constantly thinking of every song when we're writing every song, basically. So well, the boys will send me a riff, and I'll say, "Oh yeah, this is awesome. This would be perfect for this song," and then we'll just kind of like put that over there and be like, "Okay, so this is going to be the overall tone of that song." And then they'll come at me with another riff, and I'll be like, and they'll say like, "Oh, I was thinking this for the next one," and I'll be like, that doesn't quite fit there. It's not the right vibe. So, but it actually works really well over here for this song, and we'll just kind of shift things around, and the boys will be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah," and then they'll start getting the flow of things, and that's where I really like having that overview, is because all of us can constantly kind of go back to it and make sure that we're inserting things in the right spots, and then that way the boys can be like, okay, so if this song is this riff and it feels like this, and this song is this riff and it feels like this, then this song needs to be like this. And then they'll write something and it'll be like perfect, because, everything's kind of starting to get put in its place. All the puzzle pieces are starting to fit together. So yeah, it's constantly just always thinking of every song when we're writing every other song.
So where have you actually drawn like the inspiration to the lyrics? Do you have like some specific book, or is it just about like news and what's happening in the world, or
No, it's definitely like pop culture, a lot of science fiction movies and books and comic books and video games. I'm a total science fiction fantasy nerd. I would way rather live my life in a book rather than be in the real world. So, yeah, it's just kind of like, it's mostly actually, this one is like mostly classic movies that are, kind of portraying androids that are not human, but human, like Aliens. An Alien. I love the way that they portray the androids in those movies. And, a little bit of Star Trek. You got some Data in there. And Terminator, of course, playing with the, Terminator 2 vibe of when Arnie's like learning to kind of be human around John Connor, and yet he's still, you could tell that it's just programming and that he's just learning. He's not becoming emotional or anything like that. And just that kind of change, I really love all those movies, and and science fiction books in general, and Star Wars. Like R2 is totally a little person in there, despite just being a little metal tin can on wheels, and same thing with C3PO. You don't think of them as not people, right? As not characters, just because they're robots. So that's really where it all came from, for sure. And it's really funny because, AI was not like it is now in these tools for office work and for the internet and things like that. When we started writing this, that I literally was only taking from all the science fiction that I've ever
Yeah,
watched
past
and,
3 years has
played in
been
my
like
life.
quite drastically different with AI. Like
Oh,
it's
yes.
getting very fast, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when like Dolly 2 happened and Marquez Brownlee covered it on MKBHD on his YouTube channel. And he was just like, this is going to change things. And I was just like, whatever, cool pictures. And it
But what
did. And everything is like just exponentially different from, yeah. And that was even, like 2022 or whatever. So the concept of the album was already finished and written, and there was no going back.
but what's your take like on AI overall? You used was it like AI for some of the like even some audio and at least some video stuff for it?
No audio, no, didn't use anything like in the writing process or the recording process or anything like that. It was just ChatGPT for like one song, and that was because we wanted to say that we used it.
Yeah,
We were
okay.
when we were in the studio, we were like, "Hey, this would be a cool idea, let's use this stupid text program and come up with some lyric ideas." And we all sat around and put a prompt into there, and it was for Ghosts in the Mist. And I was like, write a song about assassins in the night in the style of Unleash the Archers. And it was just a poem basically. I can't actually write lyrics. So I just like was like, okay, well, I could use like this word and this little phrase here, and I could put that in there, and boom, we could say that we used AI to write a song about AI. But it was really kind of just last minute ideas, like after everything was mostly done, and the album was already finished, and then we were like, okay, so what do we do for music videos? And the guys that we were doing at that time a performance video with, we were filming with them. They were like, oh, well, there's this cool new program that can overlay green screen footage with like animation. Why don't we, that's AI, why don't we use that? So we were like, cool. And so we filmed a whole music video with them, with that in mind. And then, yeah, we used like Midjourney to do a couple images in our yearbook to just be like, this is where AI is at right now. And we had like this whole foreword that was like, wow, AI text to image really sucks right now. Like, look at the faces on these pictures that we put in here. Like, they're so bad. And we just want to be able to look back at it and be like, wow, in 5 years or even, 3 years, and be like, oh my God, you remember when AI sucked so bad? And yeah, but that was really it. We just kind of wanted to use it to say that we used it. It never even crossed our minds to use it to actually write the music or do anything like that. But I think that it's being used in Pro Tools, and it has been for years, machine learning. So it's kind of like, have we all been using it all these years and had no idea?
Maybe
Probably. I
maybe
don't know.
a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's a little scary that where can it actually go?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, that's what Phantoma is about, right? It's about the future of AI and where it could go. And I was like of the mind that AI would make life easier for humankind. And that's what the story is all about, is that humanity has destroyed the planet, and it lives in these biomes, but now they don't have anything to do all day because AI does everything for them. So they just create. They perform plays for each other, and they throw lavish parties where they, make food and eat and drink, and they make music. And it's like back in like the medieval days, when the nobility had nothing to do because they had servants everywhere. So all they did was just, play music for each other, and sing and dance and throw balls and stuff. And that's kind of like where humanity has gone back to because AI does everything for them now. And when we put this record out and everyone was like, oh, AI is horrible, I never even thought of it that way. I was kind of like, I thought that AI was going to make more room for us to be more creative. But that's, obviously that's not the case for a lot of people. They're genuinely worried about it, and that's true. I can see, absolutely their side of the picture. But I'm hoping that over time, maybe things will get to the point that I want the Star Trek future. I want the one where there's no hunger and we have the time and the resources to explore the stars. That's so far away, of course, but how do we get there? I don't know. With a lot of struggle, for sure.
So before we wrap things up, I want to ask you about the summer because you will be coming also to Finland to play in John Smith Rock Festival.
Yes,
So
we're so excited.
do you plan on actually playing a lot of the new songs live?
I think we'll play a few. Yeah, definitely the singles for sure. Um, we're not the type of band that's going to play the whole album, the whole new album from beginning to end or anything like that, because we know that there's old songs that are people's favorites, and we have never played in Finland, so we got to play some of the older tracks and
Yes,
and
for
some of
sure.
the favorites. Absolutely. So yeah, well, but we're definitely going to play some of the new ones in there. We hope that it'll have enough time for everyone to kind of get a listen to the record and get to know the new songs and maybe learn some words so that they can sing along. But we'll definitely be focusing on the older stuff as well.
So hey, thanks a lot for taking the time and all the best for the release of the album. Anything you want to say as a closure to all the Finnish fans?
Just thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the summer and hope you like the record.